What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, aka Darth Apocalypse. All right, so before I go forward with this video, shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the brother Robert Mason. This was a video request from him, and he wanted me to do a comparison between Satchel Paige and Sandy Koufax. Now, I'm going to tell you what I do appreciate about these types of video requests. It's challenging me. And I would honestly appreciate more of, although, you know, on the flip side, these type of requests going to require a little bit more time because my sweet spot is basketball. You guys know that. I love politics and basketball. And I know some baseball, but when you start talking about old school baseball players, you know, it's just increasing my knowledge of certain things. So I appreciate this because I love knowledge. I love acquiring new information. So if you guys have NFL requests, boxing requests, I appreciate all these types of, I truly appreciate these types of video requests. So he wanted me to do a comparison between these two. I guess who is greater? And I'm going to say right now, it's very difficult to ascertain who is greater because with Satchel Paige, he was blessed with something that Sandy Koufax was not blessed with, and that is extreme longevity in his sport. Even more so than LeBron James. This is a guy that started pitching professionally, although, you know, not for Major League Baseball, but in Negro leagues in the late 1920s when he was 21 years of age. And last pitched for the Kansas City Athletics when he was approximately 59 years old. You heard me correctly, 59 years old. Now, by that point in time, it was a fractured career. And prior to the appearance at age 59, he hadn't pitched since he was 46 or 47. But that's extreme longevity. I mean, just insane longevity he had. But the problem with Satchel Paige is that, because he wasn't playing in the majors, and because of, you know, from what I could gather, sometimes Negro League stats are not as reliable, and he didn't play the span of games that Major League Baseball players play when you're having all of these stats, 162 game schedule now. For much of Paige's life, it was 154 games. Matter of fact, I want to say before 154, he spent 140 or 142. But anyway, when you play that many games for that many amount of seasons, you know, you're going to have a lot of statistical accumulation, which are marks of how great a hitter you are, or how much of a home run hitter you are, prolifically, or whatever. But with Satchel Paige, we lack some of this information. We have to go a lot on common sense and hearsay. For instance, it was said that Satchel Paige had a fastball that could go 106, 107 miles an hour, right? Now, that seems a little bit hard to believe. And, you know, sometimes with a lot of these types of situations, athletes themselves are prone to hyperbole. Contemporaries can, those who played against him, can be prone to exaggeration to an extent. However, the fact that Satchel Paige, when we started watching him pitch against major leaguers when he was way past his physical prime and holding his own, and at times showing periods of domination against guys in their primes, it adds merit to the belief that this guy was an otherworldly pitcher in his prime in his 20s and 30s. Now, Satchel Paige made his professional debut in 1927 in Negro Leagues for the Birmingham Black Barons. He made his last appearance July 9th. He made his AL debut on July 9th, 1948, when he was 42 years old for the Cleveland Indians. He made his last Major League Baseball appearance September 25th, 1965, when he was 59 years old for the Kansas City Athletics. Matter of fact, in that particular ball game, when he was resting between mound appearances, he was literally sitting in a rocking chair. Anyway, his Major League Baseball record is 124 victories versus 82 losses, a 2.73 ERA, and 1,501 strikeouts. Now, to be honest with you, that's an impressive record for any pitcher who played in their 20s, right? That would be an impressive record. It's not enough for a Hall of Fame, but you look at it and go, damn, that's a good pitcher. But for somebody who pitched between the age of 42 and 59, you got to do a double take like, you're trying to tell me this guy was going up against hitters like DiMaggio and Mantle and Ted Williams and others, and he was holding his own that well? So anyway, for his career, he played for the Birmingham Black Barons from 1927 to 1930, the Cleveland Cubs in 1931, the Pittsburgh Crawfords 1933 to 1934, and then again in 1936, the Kansas City Monarchs, Kansas City Monarchs 1940 to 41, the New York Black Yankees 1941, the Kansas City Monarchs again 1942, the Memphis Red Sox in 1943, the Kansas City Monarchs again 1944 to 1947. I want to say that's the team that he was on when he came the closest to becoming a major leaguer before the debut of Jackie Robinson. Made his major league debut with the Cleveland Indians in 1948. This is after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in the modern era. The St. Louis Browns, 1951 to 53. I think the St. Louis Browns became the Baltimore Orioles. Let me see. Yeah, they became the Baltimore Orioles. And then he played for the Kansas City Athletics briefly in 1965, two-time Major League All-Star, 1952 and 1953 when he was 46 and 47, six-time Negro League All-Star, World Series champion 1948, Negro League World Series champion 1942, Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame, oldest Major League Baseball player in history. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1971. This is a true story because there's a lot of anecdotal stories about him, Satchel Paige, but this is especially true. When the New York Yankees were interested in acquiring or bringing up Joe DiMaggio back in 1936, they heard about this young Italian kid that was tearing up the Western, the Pacific League, and apparently DiMaggio faced Satchel Paige. And the scout who looked into it said, yeah, we got to sign this guy. And I guess somebody in the front office, maybe the general manager or whatever, said, well, why should we sign him? They said, well, this guy went up against, talking about DiMaggio, he went up against Satchel Paige, and he went 1-for-4. And this is when Paige is in his prime. They said, oh, he got a hit against Paige? Like, yeah. Okay, yeah, he's good enough then. It was an infield single, but the fact that he hit the seemingly nearly unhittable Satchel Paige was enough to get him promoted to the majors. So the legend of Satchel Paige, I will say this. He's more than likely the greatest Negro League pitcher in history, both in dominance and in sheer volume as far as accumulation of numbers. But we just don't know what his totals are. We don't know exactly if you add his Negro League career, all the games he played. We don't know what his strikeout totals are. We don't know, how many wins he actually accumulated. If I had to take a guess, he probably would hold records for wins. If we knew the entire total, he would probably exceed Cy Young's 511 victories, but we can't prove it. That's just the thing. When it comes to Sandy Koufax, I said this before and I'll say it again. He had the strongest period of domination that we've ever seen. 1961, 18-13 record, 269 strikeouts, 3.52 ERA, led the National League in strikeouts for the first time and made his initial All-Star team. 1962, 14-7 record, 216 strikeouts, 2.54 ERA. Through his first career no-hitter, an immaculate inning included, and won his first of 5 consecutive ERA titles. 1963, 25-5 record, 306 strikeouts, 1.88 ERA, 11 shutouts, swept the Triple Crown, won a unanimous Cy Young, and captured the NL MVP plus World Series MVP. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, at this point in time, there were no by-league Cy Young awards. Now there's the NL Cy Young Award winner and the AL Cy Young Award winner. Back then, I believe there was just one Cy Young award winner, and it was for the entire Major League Baseball. 1964, 19-5 record, 223 strikeouts, 1.74 ERA, a dominant campaign cut short by circulation issues in his finger, yet he still led the majors in winning percentage. 1965, 26-8 record, 382 strikeouts, 2.04 ERA, broke the modern single-season strikeout record, pitched a perfect game, and secured his second Cy Young. 1966, 27-9 record, 317 strikeouts, 1.73 ERA. His final season, capturing a third unanimous Cy Young with career best marks in wins and ERA. Why he is in the GOAT conversation for not just pitchers, but Major League Baseball players, but definitely pitchers. Unmatched peak dominance over his final 5 years. He went 111-34 with a ridiculous 1.95 ERA, leading the league in ERA every single year. The hardware. He won 3 Cy Young Awards back when there was only one awarded across all of Major League Baseball, alongside an NL MVP and 2 World Series MVPs. I think I need to stress this more about Sandy Koufax. Koufax was doing what he was doing on a team that was notorious for its light hitting. It was a team, if I'm not mistaken, that was more dominant as far as base running is concerned. What's the guy's name? I think he passed away a few years ago. I think it's Wills. What's his name? I think he was on that team What is his name? Maury Wills. That's it, Maury Wills. Yeah, this was not a power hitting or a high batting average team. That was a team that was dominated by its pitching. With Koufax, you also had Don Drysdale on the team. So that's what drove this team. Also, what helped him postseason titan. He posted an astonishing 0.95 ERA across 7 World Series starts, famously refusing to pitch Game 1 of the 1965 World Series because it fell on Yom Kippur. He was Jewish, only to return and win Game 7 on 2 days' rest. Untouchable biome. He holds the all-time record for the lowest career ERA at a single home ballpark, 1.37 at Dodger Stadium, minimum 500 innings. He is essentially what Michael Jordan would be if he retired at age 30, but didn't come back to play the game. You might say, well, he doesn't have the stats. He doesn't have the longevity. But the peak dominance that he displayed was unparalleled. Now, you have Bob Gibson right there. I think he's right there. But when you look at what Koufax did, I think when you talk about peak, it's even greater than Gibson's as far as how long it was. But Gibson's right there. You know what I mean? And that's why I get so irritated when people talk about Shohei Ohtani and some of these other guys, man, they're great. And I think Pedro Martinez was greater than Shohei Ohtani. I think Pedro Martinez is right there as well. When you talk about the greatest pitchers over the past 50 years, 60, 70 years, is Sandy Koufax, there's Bob Gibson, and Pedro Martinez is right there. Of course, you have Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson. Nolan Ryan is there, obviously, but Nolan Ryan had some flaws. He lost a lot of games that he should have won. His 329, 292 career record is less than, stellar. He's the all-time leader in strikeouts, but he's also, if I'm not mistaken, the all-time leader in walks. I don't think it's particularly close. And I want to say, even when he broke Koufax's strikeout record, he did it by hauling a lot of, by pitching a lot more innings. Let me see something here. Because I believe Nolan Ryan holds the record with 383 strikeouts for a single season. Let's see. I think it was, yeah. So in 1973, he struck out 383 batters, and he did it in 326 innings. 326. So that's 383 strikeouts, 326 innings. Sandy Koufax, when he struck out 382 batters, he did it in... Well, actually, I take that back. He did it in more innings, 335.2. So I take that back. So Nolan Ryan had the slightly better strikeout to innings ratio, but it also goes to show you how much work of a workload, now that I think about it, that Koufax was putting up, which led to the retirement. From 1961 to 1966, Sandy Koufax pitched let's see, from 1961 to 1966, Koufax pitched in 1,632 innings in 5 years. That's crazy. So I was wrong about that, but Koufax did lead the league in strikeouts 4 different times and went over 300 3 times. So if you're going to go comparison between these two, Satchel Paige and Sandy Koufax, I would go with. I would have to go with Koufax because I've never actually seen Satchel Paige pitch. But if you think that Satchel Paige is the greatest pitcher of all time, I'm not mad at you. But anyway, tell me what you guys think.